Hello and welcome to this special RERA helpline. The Real Estate Regulation Act was touted as a game-changer law, one that would bring transparency to a sector that has been opaque for as long as one can remember. An industry that has worked under zero regulation where buyers were always at the mercy of the developers. RERA came into force on May 1st and July 31st was the last date for developers to register projects. Well, it sounds great on paper, right? The real story is something else. Most states, buyers claim, have diluted norms. Many states don't even have a proper website in place for registrations and complaints. And to top that, some states haven't even bothered to set up a permanent regulator or notify final rules. So where does this apathy leave millions of home buyers who have put in all their life savings in hope of getting a house to live in? And also, what does this mean for developers who are taking a hard knock in an already tough market? Joining me today on this special RERA helpline episode of Urban Reality are Sunil Tyagi, Senior Partner, ZS Capital, also Gitambar Anand, CMD, ATS Infrastructure. From Mumbai, Sudeep Malik, Partner, Khetan & Co. Kolkata, Abhay Upadhyay, Convener, Fight for RERA. From Bangalore, Maliyappan Murli, MD Shriram Properties. And from Pune, Milind Deshpande, Head RERA Committee, MBVA. So we've really got a packed panel here and hopefully we will get the right answers. Because we've got so many callers and questions, let's go straight to Vineet Kumar, who's joining us from Noida. Vineet, go ahead. What's your question?
Hello to all. My question is that Central RERA was strong enough and when it was notified and we had high hopes on Central RERA. But looking at the UP RERA, can UP state government legally modify this definition of ongoing projects and place a limit of compounding to a maximum of 10%? Is this a legal thing to do? My question, this is my first part. Is it a legal thing? And if not, then what are the remedies available to the buyer?
Okay. All right. Can they limit the compounding? Sunil Tyagi, take this question. You've been in the NCR area where there has been maximum buyer distress. What do you think?
The Act itself provides a maximum penalty of up to 10%. So states haven't curtailed it by any definition or anything.
Central Act also
Central
has
Act itself
10%.
says 10% is the maximum penalty.
Right.
So up to 10% means authority can impose 1, 2 or 10%, whatever they decide in their discretion.
Right. Okay. I believe just the whole project, the whole definition of ongoing project, Gitambar, there's a lot of distress out there. Most buyers are saying that UP government has actually modified the definition of ongoing projects. And do you agree with that? Is that a valid concern that people have?
I'm glad you asked me this question. Not just UP, 7 states have the same provisions for ongoing projects, and I'll tell you why. You see, because of these clauses, in Noida, can you name me any projects which are out of RERA? That's one question. Secondly, why was this provision by the government made? Because in many areas and municipal corporations, just don't look at the NCR. In many areas, in the smaller towns, there was no provision for a completion certificate 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. Projects were delivered, but they were compounded, possessions were given, and registrations were, leases were conveyed, titles were conveyed to the customers. So the provisions of the rules which say that, the projects which are excused as ongoing are projects where more than 60% of the registrations titles have been conveyed to customers.
Right.
Where,
And how does that ensure completion?
Well, how can you get a conveyance till it's complete?
No, so 60% sale deeds have been executed. Explain that to us.
Please understand.
Right.
A project was made, so there's no concept of a completion or an occupancy certificate. There's a concept of a compounding. In many smaller towns in UP and other states.
But not in Noida.
No, not in Noida. Noida, you need an OC or a CC.
You need an OC or a CC.
You need a completion certificate. Yeah.
Okay.
Not in Noida.
There's been a rush.
First let me finish.
All right, go ahead.
You cannot execute a conveyance deed without a completion certificate in Noida. And in most of the states where there's a proper authority in place or a urban local body in place. These places, smaller towns where projects were made, compounding was done, possessions were given, and titles were conveyed because there was a provision to convey the title on the basis of a compounding certificate.
Correct.
So where they say where 60% of the titles have been conveyed, those are out of ongoing projects because that means that people have got their possessions. Secondly, where the common services have been handed over to the RWA, it means that the project is complete and there's an RWA in place. So that you've handed over the services to the RWA, right?
That's all right. But in Noida,
third is where you have applied for an OC.
Yes.
It is a.
And why not CC? When the Central Act says CC, our buyers are really worried that, you know, you may have a project which does not have all the common facilities. Getting an OC is easier than getting a CC. Gitambar?
There are many states which provide only a CC.
Right.
There's no OC. In Noida, you don't need an OC. It's just a CC.
Correct.
Yeah, so then why OC and CC? It's OC/CC. The bottom line, what is the essence of RERA? That the project should be complete. Now, if a person has completed his project, now please hear this out very carefully. If a developer has completed his project and applied for a completion certificate / occupancy certificate, he is well within his right to do so.
Okay.
The authority is well within their right to reject it if they find it lacking. So what you see, what has happened in GDA and in Noida, 24 applications for completion certificates have been rejected in GDA.
All right.
And 14 applications have been rejected in Noida because the authorities are well within.
So you're saying this whole rush to apply for an OC...
It didn't help anybody.
It did not help anybody.
No.
Okay. So here's another question that we got on Twitter which said that, look, you know, new possession dates which are being given. And Sudeep, I'm going to bring you in here. Buyers are also concerned that now as builders are registering their projects, let's say a JP project which is getting registered, the new completion date is 2020. Original completion date was 2013. So from when will that penalty come in is also another big question. What will RERA consider as the period for penalty?
Manisha, RERA authorities will have power to apply any penal provision post-registration. So when the Act comes into force, within 3 months, it will have to register. Developer will have to register. If the developer does not register, if there is any violation thereafter, after the registration process, then the RERA authorities come into play. Before that, the RERA authorities do not have any jurisdiction to determine penalty or to decide anything of the past. The past will be determined by the then prevailing law or the contract between the parties. The authorities will take into consideration what has been done, how much time it should reasonably be taken, and then allow that much of time. One can file an application saying this is the amount of time I would require, but that may not be granted by the authorities. The authorities may set this is the time within which you have to complete your project. And if they do not, then the authorities will have the power to penalize.
All right, gentlemen, just hold your thought. We have a next caller. Sudeep, I will come to you. Subho Bhattacharya has been waiting for long. This is a point that we will discuss. Subho has a question for a project in Gurgaon. Subho, go ahead.
Hi, Manisha, and hi, everybody. And my question is very simple. You know, the original Central RERA guidelines or Act talk about completion certificate. I mean, I'm talking about Haryana specifically and the way it has been diluted. Why shift to occupational certificate, which implies the bare minimal facilities, you know, keeping the builder budgets into account, like completion of flats, sewerage treatment plant, fire safety, etc., etc. But there's a lot more, like, you know, maybe a club or a swimming pool or others, which have been a part of the builder-buyer agreement, which have been overlooked. Why this? Second, very crucial point is simply by applying for occupational certificate, OC, whether you get it in the prescribed 90 days or it goes on for years, you are veering out of the penalties of that. So it looks to be a very careful engineered plan to save the builder by the government and the bureaucracy at the cost of compliant, honest tax-paying people like me and everybody.
All right, Sunil Tyagi, in the case of Haryana, there is a very obvious dilution because there are very different parameters for a builder to get. You had OC and CC both. They were not interchangeable in Haryana, at least they were not interchangeable in Noida. The situation could be different. So I think there's some truth to what Subho is saying, that by just allowing occupation certificates, you are not ensuring that a project is all that has been promised in that buyer-seller contract, which is anyway one-sided because it has been signed before RERA. It will all get delivered. Is this a complete getaway for many ongoing projects?
There is a change from the central definition of ongoing projects. They have talked about completion. But somewhere, some reasonable line has also been drawn. It can't be 1st May if you do not have completion certificate. And if you receive completion certificate, let's say on 4th May or 5th May, and you comply with the provisions retrospectively, so somewhere, some balance has to be drawn. Probably the states have tried to do that, rightly or wrongly. They have tried to draw some balance by providing, in case you've received occupancy certificate, which means some basic facilities are already in place, they've tried to exempt those projects from the under the registration
Sunil,
of RERA.
what happens then? I mean, once they're RERA registered, they may not even complete those basic facilities, right?
OC ensures that those basic
No,
facilities
Gitambar, it does not. I think in the case of Haryana,
in the case
it
of
does
Haryana,
not.
the government itself has not provided water and electricity in so many locations where projects are ready. What do we do about that?
Okay, that's a very different question,
I
and
also
we will
have
bring.
a question.
You should ask. Okay, all right. Let's go to Abhay
There are no
Upadhyay.
timelines provided to the state government to grant completion certificates. They've taken more than 1 year or 2 years at places to grant completion certificates. What happens if everything is complete but the states are not granting completion certificate? I'm not saying that the developers are justified, but the equally states are.
I mean, the regulator should pull them out.
That's the difficulty.
Well, the only
regulator has not been given these powers.
Okay, all right. Abhay Upadhyay, are you buying any of the arguments which are coming here from a panel? I mean, yes, the lawyers are trying to draw a middle path. There's Gitambar, who is speaking on behalf of the lobby, saying there are genuine problems, that industry is, CREDAI is a good lobby. Let's accept.
We are not a lobby, we are an industry body.
Okay, industry body, not a lobby. All right, I stand corrected there. But Abhay, the big question is that, regulators had to, or the rules had to actually draw out a middle path and not bring our industry to a standstill. What are the big concerns? Let's just focus on NCR. We have to take a quick break, so tell me very quickly what your concerns are.
Well, Manisha, my biggest problem here is that what we are trying to say here, that industry has a problem, home buyer has a problem, but we are not going into basic issues. That act has been legislated from parliament, and does anybody has power to change the provision or the meaning of this act? And if this way, the way things are being noted, now we are seeing that ongoing project definition has been changed. Similarly, states have extended the last date for registration of ongoing projects. So all these things are not according to the provisions of the Act. And my bigger question is, if this is the way Act is being interpreted or changed without having power to do so, so tomorrow we will see a RERA implementation completely different, which will never be able to achieve its objective. So, see, completion certificate and occupation certificate, let us take these two examples. RERA has given definition of completion certificate and occupation certificate, and there is a reason behind it. Completion certificate means that project with entire facilities and amenities, common area is complete, whereas occupation certificate guarantees only minimum water, electricity, and nothing more than that. So there is a reason why completion certificate is there, why occupation certificate is there. And let me come to one big issue which everybody is saying, that the system of completion certificate is not there. Now UP, if you read the UP rules, last point in ongoing definition they have given, if a builder has applied for completion certificate, that means the process of making application for completion certificate is there. And my question is, even if it is not there, that means there was a fault in the system. So that should be improved according to the, not that you can change the RERA, but your system should be improved. Authorities, state government should ponder on this, how to improve the system, and if there is no process of issuing completion certificate, then that process should be made. So my question is, we are changing the law as per our own convenience, and we are not changing ourselves to suit the purpose of the law. So this is my bigger concern.
Abhay Upadhyay, we've heard you. We're going to come back and take that answer. I know Mr. Anand here has some counterpoints as well, and we've got other panelists as well. So stay with us. You're watching Urban Reality Special on RERA. We're taking questions from the viewers to understand what their concerns are with various state RERAs.